Skips have just been digivolved. Look out for Digimon trading cards. Now free in selected bags of Skips. Digimon, 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 Digimon.
Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of the Gymquisition with myself, James Stephanie Sterling. Before we get cracking with another rip-roarer of an episode, I do want to weigh in on some of the hot-button topics that have been going around in fandom discussions across the internet. Specifically, all of this talk on social media about Mary Sue's. This topic comes up all the time, and I've been noticing it especially this past weekend in the rotation. Who is and who isn't a Mary Sue? And one character yet again has come up with people arguing whether or not they are one, and I do just want to say it doesn't matter whether or not. With their hyper-competence, their likability, their skills, the fact that they're never wrong. It doesn't matter whether or not James Stephanie Sterling is a Mary Sue. Yes, everybody agrees with them. Yes, everybody is devotedly, almost religiously attracted to them. Yes, everybody would love to push them up against a Streets of Rage arcade machine and do them the fuck out. I'd like that too. But does it have to be a controversy? Does it have to be an argument? Let's just all agree that I am great. Unlike Pokemon. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is a bad game. A bad fucking game. That doesn't mean it isn't fun, doesn't have rewarding content, and isn't worthy of any other disclaimer I could pull out of my ass to stop you all getting too angry at me too quickly. It may in fact be the worst game I've ever played so much of so willingly. I've been happy enough to not just play through all 3 major quest lines and endgame, but to spend plenty of time in the post-game too. But it's bad. It's definitely not managed to hold my attention without boasting something compelling, though admittedly I've also been really sick, really bored, and the game I thought would take up all my time this weekend, the Callisto Protocol, went beyond bad and into the realm of genuinely, offensively fucking shit. So awful I was tempted to devote this week's Gymquisition entirely to dumping all over it, despite having just got done dumping all over it in a review that you can read right now over at thegymquisition.com. Well, not right now, because you're watching this. Please keep watching this. I want attention. Back to Scarlet and Violet. Whether you love it or hate it, you can't deny that it's broken in more than several ways. In fact, if I were to entreat my editor Justin, I wonder if maybe I could get him to put together a fun little compilation of the bugs and buggery that have plagued it. Wow! Thanks, Justin. You know, if you'd have asked me earlier this year what game I'd be enjoying the most over the holiday season between Pokemon and Callisto Protocol, I could never have imagined my answer being Evil West. It is, though. because Evil West is fucking great. Anyway, the point is that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which I'm gonna just shorthand as Pokemon Vagisil because I like saying Vagisil, is a bad game. It is clearly rushed to absolute fuck, cobbled together to meet its release date when it desperately needed more time in development. It's filled with weird glitches that are often so hilariously messed up they've exploded all over social media. What could have been an ambitious breath of fresh air is instead a disappointing walkback compared to the studio's previous genuinely visionary effort. And as I look at Pokemon Vagisil's overall sales success, critical reception, and community response, all I can think is this. Boy, if I worked on Cyberpunk 2077, I'd be pissed. Look, Cyberpunk 2077 was clearly rushed to absolute fuck, cobbled together to meet its release date when it desperately needed more time in development. It was filled with weird glitches that were often so hilariously messed up they exploded all over social media. What could have been an ambitious breath of fresh air was instead a disappointing walkback compared to the studio's previous, genuinely visionary effort. When Cyberpunk 2077 was brand new, I was able to have my editor do exactly what we just did for Pokemon. In fact, let's take a trip down memory lane and enjoy that delightful little montage, why don't we? I'm bringing up CD Projekt Red's disastrously launched opus for one simple reason: the starkly different reaction to what is quite literally the exact same set of issues. Where CDPR was humiliated, Game Freak is exonerated. Where CDPR paid, Game Freak profited. Where CDPR had to grovel, Game Freak had to sit back and bask in adoration. Cyberpunk 2077 was a laughingstock for weeks, subject to immense amounts of backlash that required the publication of multiple solemn JPEGs. Pokemon Vagisil has not only had its many issues hand-waved, but in some cases even applauded, despite being at least as bad as Cyberpunk's. I was listening to a podcast just this weekend where the litany of glitches were described as charming, cute, part of the actual appeal. Where Cyberpunk 2077 was laughed at, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is laughed with. CDPR had to issue a massive number of refunds due to the wave of customer complaints, and the last-gen versions were considered so bad the PS4 version got pulled from sale. Meanwhile, Pokemon Scarvo sold 10 million copies in 3 days, becoming the series' fastest-selling, most popular installment. And let's be honest, in terms of quality, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is actually worse than Cyberpunk 2077 in many ways. The performance issues, still prevalent even after patching, are utterly fucking shocking. Frame rates are so bad the stop-motion robot skeleton at the end of Terminator moves more smoothly than this game's NPCs. It stutters more than I do when a cute trans person does literally anything near me. As for the slowdown, I mean, damn. Prior to playing the game, I really thought people were exaggerating how poor this was, but holy shit. It's not just a regular problem, it's bad enough to represent the fucking norm. The default performance for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is well below a humble 30 frames per second. and that's grim. Say what you will about Cyberpunk 2077, but for all the heat that game quite deservedly got, it was nowhere near as inherently broken as the already forgiven Pokemon Scarvo. I got bored of calling it Badgersil, by the way. I've long argued that we as a community let the Pokemon series get away with fucking murder. For years, the franchise has complacently trodden water, churning out pretty much the exact same game every single fucking time, refusing to make even the slightest improvement to a formula that's remained unchanged for over 20 years. And it's needed so much improvement. The many quality of life changes in Legends Arceus demonstrated that, and the fact Scarlet and Violet walks many of those changes back is just fucking appalling. But because it's got a fandom that'll overlook a world of fuck-ups, Pokemon's mainline games have never felt the need to fix a damn thing. The huge hook that fans are letting Pokemon off this time around absolutely proves what I've been saying. If you're Game Freak, you can do things that would get other developers torn to fucking pieces, and you won't even have to so much as apologise because the fan base will say sorry for you. This isn't to say that Pokemon got off completely scot-free this time. In fairness, professional critics had a little bit more nerve on the whole, to the point where my 5 out of 10 review isn't even the lowest scoring on Metacritic. Speaking of Metacritic, the game has gotten a user review bombing, sitting at an average score of 2.9 out of 10. So while there is a lot of apologia, it's not universal. Hell, the community response to my review wasn't anywhere near as full of defensive little bitches as I expected, especially after dealing with so many in the fallout to my Sonic Frontiers review. The overall response from fans was that none of the criticisms are wrong, but they are willing to look past them because they love Pokemon so much. And that's the thing. Because Pokemon is so beloved, and has remained unchanged without challenge for so long, we just roll over and accept anything from Game Freak, no matter how fucking bad it is. Because it's still bought in droves, because fans never demand better, the series has remained a slow-paced and old-fashioned game that by today's standards is quite visually fucking ugly as well. Yes, the Pokemon creature designs are still appealing as hell, but god damn does Scarlet and Violet's graphics look outdated, threadbare, and just plain unattractive. Its barren world of flat textures and harsh, featureless angles really doesn't inspire me to want to explore it, and yet, as shit as it looks, it still can't run at 30 FPS. Video games have been absolutely pilloried for less, but because it's Pokemon, we're just meant to forgive it. Look, I've got no love for CD Projekt Red. Its business practices suck, its attitude towards gender identity is sketchy as shit, and its entire handling of the last game's launch was the fucking pits. But damn, looking at the way CDPR and Game Freak's latest output are gonna go down in history, it's hard not to feel just a little bit sorry for Cyberpunk 2077 and wonder if it wasn't done just a teeny bit dirty. As for Pokemon, I mean, I'm part of the problem. I'm one of the series' harsher critics. I'm furious that Legends Arceus didn't represent the change the mainline series has needed for years, yet I'm still gonna buy every new fucking game day one, and I'm still gonna play the shit out of them even while constantly complaining about laborious animations, repetitive explanatory text boxes, archaic gameplay, and outdated visuals. With that in mind, am I in any position to lecture anybody else on accepting poor quality? Do I have any right to demand better despite opening my wallet every time? Probably not. But what I'm saying still ain't wrong. Now the ultimate question is, does any of this matter if someone's having fun with the game? And ultimately, if they're having so much fun that it's not being counteracted by anything else the game might be doing wrong, then I suppose not. I mean, one of my most famous video game reviews from back in the day was the 10 out of 10 I gave to Deadly Premonition. A near objectively, scientifically, provably bad game that was just so fucking entertaining. I couldn't give it any less. But regardless, Pokemon Scarvo is going to be, well, already is mega successful. It's made a lot of people happy. I'm not exactly one to complain about that per se. So there it is. I just thought I'd make a snotty little point on the internet with today's video, and I think I've done that quite successfully. Before we go, I'll just quickly remind you of sort of some upcoming wrestling stuff. On December 30th in Sheffield, I will be part of True Grit, their holiday show Festive Forearms. That's at the PPW facility where we do our Spectrum shows. Also January 14th, I'll be in Leeds for that True Grit show that got postponed. Now, I've been making a bit of a big deal about a show in February in Manchester, February 5th, which was going to be myself versus Shreddy versus WWE's Scotty 2 Hottie, but he pulled out because he doesn't want to work with an outspoken trans performer, i.e. me. Now, I've been dealing with that whole controversy this past week, been getting a lot of transphobic grief from people who just wanted to defend him, deciding to pull out of a match he already agreed to because he cared so little about his bookings, he paid no attention to who he was fighting. But hey, if any of you were excited for that match and did not know yet, I'm sorry. I feel responsible. It's not my fault, but I am the reason. But yeah, sorry about that. I will still be there. It will be Commander Sterling versus Shreddy for Sovereign Pro Wrestling in Manchester. It's going to be fucking awesome. It's a real shame though. Real shame. It's not going to stop me from doing the worm. Or indeed, it won't stop anyone else from thanking God for me. So do that. Thanks. Bye.
Ooh.